All right, so those are some tips for getting your shoulders mobile. Stretches are great, but typically we always want to have some type of strengthening or resistance associated with stretching. So if you get things nice and loose and you stretch them, we're typically wanting to follow that up with some good strengthening for your shoulders. So we're going to go through some variations that you can go through to get your strongs nice and strong so you can lift to that top shelf. So first thing we're going to do is back down to your hands and knees in quadruped. It's the position that we would call this. And just simply weight bearing, as soon as I put my hands on the ground and I've got some weight over my hands, my shoulders automatically start to work a little bit more. So even rocking left to right, for some people, this is going to be enough for them. This can be challenging for some folks. You can even lift up one hand at a time, like this. Or you can do shoulder taps where I may just tap and it forces me to shift my weight. This becomes more challenging if you take your knees off the ground. So let's say I come up into this position where my knees are off the ground. I can shift my weight. I can lift my hands. I can also tap my shoulders. Okay, now if you look at the position of my shoulder, it's basically like this, all right? But we need to be able to get up, right? So that's where we want to think about trying to get in a higher range of motion. So this is where a high bear crawl or high quadruped could come in, to where I'm thinking of getting my butt up, and I can do some of those same things. If you look at the position of my shoulder, if I come up, then I'm basically overhead. So this is some things that we can do. You can also add some movement into this to where I would do a bear crawl. You can do a low bear crawl or a high bear crawl where your opposite hand, opposite feet are moving. So that's a great, simple activity that's going to be rather challenging, and you can scale that up from your knees up onto your feet. So from there, we can progress to the good old push-up. A lot of us are familiar with this, but there's some things that we want to think about with the push-up. First thing is the height of the surface. So this, what's this, 30 inches, I think? 30-inch surface. Some people may want to start against a wall. Some people may want to start against a countertop or a table. 30 inches may be great for some. So what we want to think about is your hands are right about shoulder width apart. I'm stepping back. I'm not letting my butt stick out like this. I'm keeping it nice and solid, so there's a straight line from my shoulders to my hips to my feet. And as I'm going down, I'm letting my forearms brush against my body and then coming up. Now, if you keep it nice and tight and the forearms are brushing the body, you're going to get more musculature around the shoulder to help support that joint, and it's going to be a better push-up. So from there, I can make it more challenging by becoming more horizontal. So I could go to a lower surface right here and do the same thing. I could even go lower. I could go all the way to the ground and do a full push-up. But if that's out of the cards and you want to go lower, you can do it from the knees. Now the same things, same rules apply. Hips, or shoulders, hips, and knees are wanting to line up, and you're wanting your forearms to really go past your torso. So weight bearing, quadruped, bear crawling, push-ups are a great way. And then last but not least, there's lots of things that we can do, but this is going to be a pretty effective activity. And that is loading up your arm or shoulder with something overhead. So kettlebells are great. You can do dumbbells as well. So a kettlebell, getting it up overhead, a couple things you want to focus on. Don't let your arm get too far out. You want it to be pretty close to your ear. You want to not let your low back do this. You want to be nice and straight and solid. So for some, you may just stand here, and that's perfectly fine. For others, if you feel pretty comfortable in that position, you can push up and walk. Now this isn't about speed, it's more about control. So you want to make sure that you're nice and solid, you're not waving all over the place, and you're just taking nice, controlled steps. okay? And you can really load that up. This is an exercise that sometimes the heavier you go, the more feedback that you'll get and the better you'll perform it. We would say a heavy overhead carry can be instructional. So for some folks that may be not in a great position with the lighter weight, we can give them a heavier weight and they may self-correct. And that's a really good thing when that happens.